So good evening and welcome to Wisdom Wednesdays. And today our topic is on healing with wisdom. The art of healing, renowned medical doctor and spiritual teacher Bernie Siegel demonstrates how science and spirituality can interact. When we experience loss, we become afraid of things we don't know, and this can keep us stagnant. A bad thing happened, then you go into this time of uncertainty. Anthropologists call it the time of no longer and not yet. A place where we are stuck in and don't return and live in a world of uncertainty. However, most growth happens in the place of uncertainty. We need to feel it and let it go, whatever that has happened to us. We need to grieve. If we don't grieve, we stay stuck, and then the past holds you hostage, right? A good mentor, a support person is required, and a time for patience, actually, and letting go. The old must disappear and the new must come, but you have to let it. Learn to relax. Learn to be comfortable with the uncertainty. Be resilient. Sometimes resilience comes from adversity, as we all know. There are 5 things to become resilient and change your brain circuit. The brain, as you know, can heal itself, scientists have found. Resilient people are realists. They see the reality going forward and no wishful thinking and burying your head in the sand. Take charge, do something, face things head on. I know you probably think this is easy to say and harder to do, but we have to try. So be able to find meaning for the bad times. For instance, say to yourself that this aspect of life is where I'm learning and growing and things must get better. Faith and meaning. Be radically creative. Think outside the box. Without always saying how bad things are and woe is me, and say, why are things happening to me over and over again? Say to yourself, what do I find most interesting now? Find a new thing to participate in, something you have been always curious about. So approach things from a different aspect and optimize realism. Be proud of what you do. You should be your best and greatest fan. I hear a lot of people saying, I'm useless, I'm no good. And then you look at them and they have such wonderful traits and such excellent things that they do in their lives. So if you love yourself, you can love other people. And so, this is a good place to start. And social support and a great sense of humor in the absurd. Humor is so important. It lifts you out of the limits of your own thinking, and it changes your brain and helps healing depression and pain. Alternative therapies too help teach us to manage fear and terror and negativity. We have to bring in love for anyone we feel has done us wrong. And then you feel a sense of release from this burden of anger, hate, sadness, which we carry around from past experiences. Also, writing about our experience can be a cathartic way to do it and help us to heal. Mind-body healing talks about changing. Meditation, classical acupuncture, which I've been following now with Selvi's daughter, who does a brilliant job of it. Love for our enemy, soulful living, all of these have great healing effect. Scientists now know that the brain has an amazing ability to change, as I said, and heal itself in response to mental experience. This phenomenon, known as neuroplasticity, is considered to be one of the most important developments in modern science for our understanding of the brain. Many of us instinctively know that time spent in nature, for instance, is great for both body and mind. But now a growing body of research is scientifically proving its benefit for depression symptoms, anxiety attacks, and stress relief. Our ancient ancestors knew the immense healing power of spending time in natural surroundings. The idea of nature as a healer can be found in the earliest documented histories of China, Greece, Persia, Tibet, and many others. The important thing is to tune in Focus on your 5 senses of sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch of the surroundings. You can do these things like walking barefoot, sleeping outdoors in a blanket, collecting shells or unusual pieces of wood or rock, and breathe in the fresh air. Especially for those of us struggling with depression or anxiety, nature is a great teacher, showing the cycle of life and hope. Light follows darkness, the sunshine follows rain, and spring follows winter. So sometimes it can be even a case of mind over matter. What we imagine can change our physiology. I want to help you with a little exercise that is promoted by Dr. Jane Borisenko. She's Harvard-educated biologist who talks on mind-body healing, where she says, well, stop everything you're doing, go to the fridge and take out a lemon or a lime. You cut it, and then you taste it. Or before you even taste it, you know, your mind, your brain can imagine this tartness of this lemon. This is only in your thought process that you're doing it, right? You're not actually going to the fridge. You're going to the fridge in your mind. And you're opening the fridge door, helping yourself to a lime or lemon, and you're cutting it, and you imagine that you're tasting it. And you know the reaction you get is one that screws up your face and your whole body cringes because this is tart. And then you realize you never did it, right? You just imagined it. So just imagine, as Jane Borisenko says, see the power in imagining something and helping that form a different idea in your brain, and your whole brain is rewired and recircuited. So this is what we are going to talk on today. And without much time taken, I'd like to go to Soraya. Soraya, tell us about healing, mind healing, for instance, and healing with wisdom.
Okay. Thank you, Carol. Beautifully laid out. You know, I could myself visualize the lemon and preempt my response to it. And this is exactly what we do. This topic is a very difficult topic because I'm going to talk about healing through forgiveness. But before I do that, I also want to rally everybody who's listening. Thank you for listening in. You had a myriad of things to do, but you chose to listen to the Wisdom Women. And remember, we are here not just to go along, to get along, but we are here to really craft some special ideas, methodologies through which we can bring transformation, not just to ourselves, but to our country. Because this topic we are dealing with today is very, very difficult, because we are asking every one of us, including myself, to look within. Our country, the world, everywhere is going through a very bad patch. And it is my understanding that we have not put enough love. And this will continue. Not one person is going to show up and save us. It requires for us to do the work. So the question is not that the other person is the problem, but are you the solution? Are you willing to be the solution? And how can we endure trauma that's happening? And are we contributing to that? Or are we able to say, no, enough is enough. I'm going to look at it in a different way and bring forth a different solution. So if we are to talk about healing and then forgiveness, let us first take a deep look. You have to be so tired of what is happening within you, so that not even what can possibly happen outside can excite you, but you are so sick of this, what is happening within you. Are you tired of letting anger from past mistakes, hurtful breakups, toxic family relationships, or hurt that is occupying a large space in your heart and your mind? You have to ask that question. Then understand that there's extraordinary healing power in taking steps to forgive someone. Whomever the toxicity that you're carrying within your mind and heart, there is no choice. We have to forgive that somebody, and we have to even forgive ourselves for thinking the way we thought. And here's a story. Just please take a pen and write these 4 questions down. This is a story of a doctor who had to close a psychiatric ward because people began to forgive one another. So the ward was closed because there was no sick people. Every morning and every day for many times, what he taught his patients to ask of themselves and communicate to the other person was, thank you for being here. Even the person who's hurting us the most is teaching us a lesson. So we have to thank the person. Thank you. Please write it down. And then you say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry because however righteous we feel, we hurt people. So you acknowledge the hurt that you may have caused. So thank you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. When you're saying, you might feel, I have not wronged. Why would I have to say this? When you say forgive me, you're also saying forgive myself. And then you say the words, the most magical words, I love you. I love you, meaning I love myself first, and then I love you. So these four statements were uttered by these patients every day, and there was so much releasing of the resistance, and all the hospital had to eventually close. Please Google the Ho'oponopono tradition. This is a powerful tradition originating in Hawaii. So thank you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. And if somebody is there next to you, just try it. It's just it's not an easy journey to get to a place where you forgive people, but it is certainly the most powerful place because it frees you. It frees you. It's not about the other person. So, so if you're struggling, no matter what your intention is, you might say, no, but she wronged me. Ask the questions. Is what I'm thinking the truth? Am I absolutely sure that this judgment I have of this person that is absolute the truth? And if you're struggling to let go, just be a little silly and ask yourself, if I can't let go now, when can I let go of this story? And then you realize how silly I am to hold on to this heavy weight on my shoulders, on my head, and wait and wait and wait and to let it weigh me down. Okay, I can't forgive this person today. I'll forgive him next week. It seems it should seem very silly and absurd and futile. And then what would I be without this story? This story of resentment and the hurt that I'm carrying. What would I be without this story? Uh, because you will then understand that the relief that this can flood through your body, and we are talking about healing that it can bring about healing. So we grew up in the hearing when we were little, an 18th century poet say, to err is human, to forgive is divine. And as I just said, this is not easy, but we must develop a mechanism. Nothing is going to come easy. You're not going to wake up one day and say, oh, I'm going to forgive everybody. No, we must develop and maintain the capacity to forgive. That means it takes daily work, daily routine. Dr. King said, he who is devoid of the power to forgive is devoid of the power to love. That's a serious call on us, because finally in life, only real thing is love, my friends, in our ability to love. So forgiveness, I'm not saying that we ignore what has been done or putting down a false label on an evil act. It means rather that the evil act no longer remains a barrier to the relationship I'm trying to build with this person. Because sometimes it is your child, it is your spouse, it is your brother, it is your neighbor. This has to stop because we are bringing in so much negativity to the world by our inability to forgive. It means that, as I said, the evil no longer remains the barrier. Forgiveness means also that it is rather that the evil act not block or cause barriers in my system, making me feel sick. So you should be like a fluid being, all these, there's no negative thoughts that come and block at your throat or your chest or your stomach. It should just move in and out of you. I'm not saying don't be without understanding and recognizing what's happening, but don't hold on to the grudge. Then forgiveness also means that you tell yourself, you don't get to trap me in the past. I am worthy of the future. I tell the other person, I tell myself, I am not going to give my power over to you because I want to heal. I want to be better than, bigger than, mightier than whom I am now. Okay. So, Gandhi said, the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. So, in order for us to get to that strong and strength, we have to build that capacity. It's very critical. It is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. So, forgive, because only through forgiving that we can heal. And I'm going to invite my friend and dear sister, Selvi, to continue from where I have stopped. And she's going to talk. Carol, you want to say what the topic of what Selvi is
No,
going to
let Selvi address
Okay.
it, and
Okay.
we will, at the end we will discuss what we all spoke about. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Soraya,
Yes.
you just blew my mind off with all what you said. It was so beautiful and so succinctly put. And it's so
Thank you.
amazing. Amazing. I mean, there is nothing I could even question because it was so well presented. Thank you so much for that. But
Thank you.
I'm going to go
Guide
a
us.
little, yes, I'm going to go a little bit away from forgiveness because there are so many ways we could heal ourselves. Carol's talked about neuroplasticity. Now, I would like to touch on epigenetics. And the doctors who have been working on epigenetics are Dr. Bruce Lipton and Dr. Deepak Chopra. These are medical doctors and doctors of philosophy, but they have done a lot of work on this. And what they have done is actually gone through a scientific and a spiritual journey that has revealed to them, and they have given us the benefit of their research, that perceptions, the human body can heal itself by changing perceptions. Our health is actually in our hands. Now, what we need to do is to understand it so that we empower ourselves with this new understanding, because the body has a miraculous nature, and the human body that has an extraordinary healer within us all. And we need to just be, aware and awaken that healer within us, and we are healed. But that doesn't mean allopathy is of no importance. Now, medicine is actually does miracles, but only for trauma. It cannot address problems of your mind. Allopathy sees the physical body like a machine. And when the parts break, they replace them using surgery, and those are medical miracles. Surgery, they've done so much in the past so many years in surgery. But they're replacing parts of the body, believing that the body is controlled by genes. We think the genes are there and it cannot be changed. Now, what Dr. Bruce Lipton is saying is that that's not the case. Just like we thought the brain was static, but now they're beginning to know and understand that actually the brain is also changing all the time. Similarly, our genes are also changing. It's fluid. So depending on how the gene changes, our body and what happens in our body also changes. The new science, epigenetics, reveals that the bodies or the genes aren't responsible for the breakdown. They say, if your mother had cancer, if your father had cancer, that means your cancer is in your genes, and you will definitely have. This is what a doctor told me once, and I didn't take his word for it. And now Dr. Bruce Lipton is saying that what I believed was right. actually nothing is in our genes. Because what is actually causing the disease is the driver. The driver is the mind. In essence, if you don't know how to drive, you're going to mess up the vehicle. Just like that, if you don't know how to keep your mind, then you're going to mess up the body. We can agree that lifestyle is the key to taking care of ourselves. Think well, eat well, and exercise, and your body won't break down and it won't need any new parts, right? I mean, I think all us women, we are all standing examples of that. I mean, Carol, even today, she goes playing and keeping her body fit. And we all do meditation and yoga and keep our body fit. And that's the way to do it. And eat well, good food, healthy food. In fact, Dr. Lipton's research illustrates by changing your perception, your mind can alter the activity of your genes. Now, just imagine, if you can just changing your perception, you change your genes. That means there is no limit to what you can be, because the genes decide then what you can do and what you can look like and what you can be in this world. So he gives more detail by saying that gene programs are contained within our nucleus of our cell. And you can rewrite those genetic programs by changing your blood chemistry. In the simplest terms, this means that we need to change the way we think if we want to heal. What that means is what Soraya was talking about, being able to forgive. See, if you hold a grudge, you are actually causing bad chemistry in your blood. When you forgive, it causes good chemistry in your blood, and so you heal. So if you have been told that you will die in 6 months, your mind believes it, and you will die, because belief is biology. That's what Dr. Lipton is trying to prove. The fact is, we have more control over our health and life than we have been taught to believe. Healing can be extremely complex and deeply personal, but it can also happen spontaneously in a moment. In actual fact, healing is in our hands, Another person who is actually talking about this is Dr. Deepak Chopra in his book, Quantum Healing. He says, every cell in our body is eavesdropping your thoughts. It's constantly looking at your thoughts as to what you're thinking. We need to actively pursue the beneficial genetic changes that occur in meditation and other contemplative practices. Long portrayed as spiritual, these meditation and contemplative practices actually are mind-body techniques, and everybody should practice it. And every cell, and even deeper, every gene can change with your contemplative practices. Now, again, Dr. Deepak Chopra is saying, genes are not fixed or stable or immovable entities. They are fluid and dynamic. Their activities are altered by every experience, thought, word, and action in a person's life. Now, just imagine, our genes are changing all the time, depending on what we think, what we speak, and what we do, our actions. It is changing, right? So what is there today is A. With your thought and action, it becomes B tomorrow. And then B will actually change your life according to B. So it won't be again the life according to A. So constantly your life is also changing. See, it is with this good knowledge that Lord Buddha said, emphasized so much on right thought, right speech, right action, right occupation, everything right, so that you are able to actually change your gene towards a better you, a grander you, a much bigger you, which Soraya was talking about. I'd like to give you a takeaway points. Finally, how do we translate this to our everyday life? How do we know that we are actually doing the right things in terms of right thinking and right speech and right thoughts? First one, this is takeaway for you. Making sure your life has a higher purpose and meaning. When you have a life with a higher purpose and meaning, which is higher purpose and meaning is usually not about you. Higher purpose is about the environment or the animals or the politics or the poor people or the poverty or the world situation, the world conflict. You have a higher purpose in order to address these issues. Then you have good health while focusing on daily practicalities. Even those that seem routine and meaningless will not. See, if you concentrate on your daily practical, your cup of coffee in the morning, how you get up, what you do in the morning, your daily routine. And if you're concentrating on that, your health is not going to be the best. But have a higher purpose. Think big about people, about care about animals, care about the environment, and then your health is assured. The second point, living according to a higher vision, it gives you a better health. You have a vision about how should Sri Lanka be in 2025, and how would I work for it? Now that's a vision, and you have a higher purpose in working towards that. That gives you health. That makes you healthy. While living for externals like a better job, more money for me, a bigger house, it saps your energy and it takes away your health. You see, these things people have never thought of it like that. To just be worried about my job, my pay, my house, my wife, my daughter, these are things that we get bogged down with. And it actually saps your energy and doesn't give you good health. The third thing, expanding your awareness of life at every stage of your life, it gives you better health. Usually we have a tendency to say, oh, when I was young, I was able to do this. My youth was the best time of my life. Oh, I did this. I swam the channel or whatever, So while viewing youth as the peak of your life, and old age as a dwindling decline causes ill health. See, we have to avoid these things. At any stage in life, you are fortunate. You are the best expression of yourself. And then you have good health. The fourth one, devoting time and alternative personal growth. You have to devote time and attention to personal growth, both physical, emotional, and mental. It gives you better health. You spend time on yourself. Give yourself, some time to think about how you want to look like, how you want to speak, what should you be your emotions, and you will always feel proud about it. Whatever you're feeling, you're proud about it. So this is the fourth point that you need to be aware of. The fifth and the final point is making happiness your high priority. That gives you better health. If you're troubled by your present state and you're sad and unhappy, don't dwell on it. I want to be happy now, and you concentrate on being happy, and that sadness and that unhappiness of that present will just melt away. So make happiness your priority at all times. These 5 things are simple things in life, but it gives you perfect health and fitness at any age, even if you're 75 like me. Thank you.
Selvi, quickly,
Yeah.
you said that the cells are constantly listening to us, and what the messages we put in are very important. And I can't agree. I mean, I'm it's totally in agreement with what you said. And I've noticed this is a decision I think we have to make it, because look at in Sri Lanka now, at every nook and corner, they have these signs. Are you sick? Do you need a blood test? Do you have diabetes? These messages are sent to you, to debilitate you. And it's no different in the United States. In every junction, there's a pharmacy. Imagine if we had places that taught what you are sharing now. So,
Yeah.
as you said, we are so responsible for our health and healing, right?
Yes, I think this is so true that the medicine, allopathy, and healing through allopathy and drugs have become a commercial venture now. And they need patience. And by putting all these signs, they're sending messages to ourselves to say you're sick. This Dr. Reddy from Apollo Hospital said they have got these massive MRI machines now. And when people go there, they go as people, but when they come out of the MRI, they become patients. Because they see so many things in the body which is wrong. But and then they're made to go to the doctors and cure and operate and take drugs and whatever. But we don't need all that. Our healer is inside us. We are the healers, and we are the best healers, actually. And you know that the body is producing chemicals like nothing on this world that we can do. It produces anything you want. It's a massive chemical factory. And whenever you're sick, whatever you need is produced in the body. Everything is produced in the body. Only thing is, you have to tell the body, I want to heal this problem of mine, and it heals it. But what we are saying to the body is, I am sick. Only a doctor can heal. I must go to the doctors. I must go and take drugs. Only a drug can heal me. And then the body, the cells will listen to that and say, okay, I'll wait for the drug to come. It won't do its own work. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
on that point, I have started a class on Qigong. It is so powerful. The teacher was telling us our body has 50 trillion cells. Just imagine if you were to send oxygen to every cell. So you can do that. You'll be sending oxygen every minute. But our body is so powerful. When you take a breath in, it is oxygenating all the cells. So don't give up on not recognizing the power that lies within your body. Every breath of you is giving 50 trillion cells oxygen. So your body is way more powerful. Thank you, Selvi. To Carol now.
So, we it's not that we are saying don't go to a doctor, but we are saying you have the power in you. And you have the power most of the time to deal with all the negativity that is in your system. And if you are constantly having negative thoughts, you are bound to get sick. You don't need a doctor to tell you, right? And medicine is also not an exact science. So when you go to a doctor, it's a case of trial and error. So what we are saying is, before you do that, before you go to that doctor, give it a shot, do what you have to do. Get rid of all the negativity in you. And as Soraya said, say sorry, as Selvi gave you so many tips, use some of that. And I think I was as guilty as everybody else. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning and I brush my teeth and I come out to do my stretches. And I used to turn on the news, the international news. Now, no news is, all the news is bad news. Actually, no news is good news. And then one day I woke up to the fact that I was just bombarding myself with all these negativity that's going around in the world. And so now I try to put something spiritual that's on the box, or some music, something that, doesn't tax you too much. And I find the whole mood for the day has been set by that, instead of this barrage of negative emotions. So there are so many different ways of trying this out. Soraya, I think what you said was also excellent. Could you please post you know about the program in Hawaii on this site, the chat
Yeah.
site, so that people can reference. I also added Selvi's. Fazana, tell us how we do with healing with family and friends, please.
Yeah, Karen, before I go to that, I wanted to make a comment on what you said as well, about healing. Uh, I think we should look at being more proactive because healing is more reactive way. So we should lead our lifestyles from the beginning. So this is where we need to have it in the curriculum and engage the youth with this whole positive way of living. It's the mind, body, and spirituality. So if you eat unhealthy, for example, 75% of all deaths in Sri Lanka are because of a non-communicable disease. So it just shows that we don't live a healthy lifestyle, right? Even if maybe our mind is healthy, what about our bodies? Are we eating the right food in the right quantities? Because half or more than half of the adults have either diabetes, high pressure, or some form of cholesterol or something like that, right? So I feel that we should go uh, prevent all these and have more in an enlightened society, or at least an enlightened future, so that you won't have to even face a situation where you have to go for some form of medication, and you can reduce this a lot with the healthy lifestyle. So I want to talk about how friends and family can support you to heal, because this is also a very close way of healing. With all, I agree with everything that the others said about the mind and so on. But your associates, we don't live as an island. We have close people we associate with on a day-to-day basis, our family and our friends. And when we have a problem, I mean, I have experienced it. I mean, whenever I have a family member ill, all of you and many other friends support me. They say even to run an errand, if they can do the physical stuff for me, or even if I want someone to talk to. And it's just sometimes I may not use that service, but it's just good to know that there are people out there and I'm not all alone. So when it comes to uh, uh, friends and family, I want to talk about two main areas. One is the deadly disease of cancer, and the other is depression, which are two of the most uh, biggest issues today, and which requires a lot of friends and family support for us to cope with. But we need to be mindful that when people experience trauma, not everyone experiences it the same, and everyone chooses a different path of healing, and none is more right than the other. So we have to continue to remain supportive of our family member or friend and understand the choices that they make as part of the healing process, which will occur in its own time. We shouldn't poke in and say, no, we don't like this method. You should follow the path of meditation. We have to give the person who's healing that choice and support them, be there to support them in that choice. There's a lot of research to show how there's a direct link between social support from friendship to the immune system. Immune system can boost, and I think that's what even Selvi spoke about. People with good friends tend to have a stronger immune system and anti-inflammatory responses that can lead to quicker wound healing and reduce the risk of illnesses, including cardiovascular diseases, arthritis, and sometimes cancer. So I've been reading about this amazing doctor called Dr. Kelly Turner. I'm sure most of you have heard about her. So 10 years ago, she asked the question, why do some people heal from diagnosis despite all the odds? So they have just healed. It's a medical anomaly. How has it happened? So she did this research on radical remission, and it has been quite a phenomenal research where she has spoken to many cancer patients, over hundreds of cancer patients, and she's looked at how the survivors, how they have survived, what have they done. So she summarized all this research, and she found that both of them who she talked to, who were because of various stages in cancer, had found unconventional ways of healing despite all the odds they had. So when she looked at them, she found there were 75 healing factors that appeared in these cases, but 9 were common among all the cases that she studied. So she called them the 9 key factors that make a real difference. So I would like to share these 9 factors. So, which had helped cancer patients heal and survive and heal. Um, these are not in any particular order and no particular order of importance. One was radically changing your diet, which I also said at the onset. The second is taking control of your health. Third is following your intuition. Fourth is using herbs and supplements. We all have that. I think we've spoken a lot about this topic of Hela Vedakam and Ayurveda and so on. Fifth is releasing suppressed emotions. Sixth is increasing positive emotions. Seventh is embracing social support. And 8, deepening your spiritual connection. And 9, having strong reasons for living. So she states that there was no clear winner, but all of them have supported in her hypothesis. So, I mean, this is very powerful because most of them talk about your emotions and having someone to support you. So, to do these 9, you really need people around you, friends and family to support you. When it comes to the other topic that I wanted to talk about, depression, I always say happiness spreads, but depression doesn't. So, depression doesn't spread. So, you can really spread your happiness and support a depressed person. Um, so a lot of friends we know suffer mental health, a lot of teenagers suffer mental health, and a lot of studies have said that solid friendships in our lives even helps promote brain health. Friends also help us handle stress, make better lifestyle choices that keep us strong and allow us to rebound from health issues and disease more quickly. Friendship is also important for our mental health. So I honestly feel that when you have family and friends around you, uh, you have to actually look at two sides. One is if the person with depression is under 18 or over 18. If they are under 18, you have to make decisions on that child's behalf. If they are over 18, you have to support the decisions and help that person because the survivor is no longer a minority. In both these cases, you have to believe in the survivor, offer validation, and remember that the trauma was not the survivor's fault, regardless of the circumstances. Refrain from placing blame. Sometimes family members tend to do that unconsciously without knowing that they can blame a survivor. And some of these important things that we do when we have a person with depression is we say, I understand how you feel. We shouldn't really say that because we really don't. Sometimes we say, what happened? Do you want to talk about it? This may not be true because they may not want to. You'll feel better when you talk about it. They may not feel better. Sometimes we tend to use examples from our life saying, when this happened to me, this also doesn't work sometimes because they want to focus on their story and they want further depression on listening to what happened to you. Sometimes we want to go the legal way, saying you should press charges, otherwise this person might do it to others. The survivor may want to just, forget about that incident. So we need to let just be there to support the patient and not probe and go beyond a certain sort of limit and help that sort of depressed person find his own course, but family and friends can be close around the person to give that emotional support. So I want to end there by saying that family and friends are a great strength, and I'm sure all of you have great examples where you have overcome life-changing, life-defining moments because of the support you received from your family and friends. None of us, I would say, have had a perfect life where we've not had ups and downs. And rejoice with the same family and friends when you have great ups as well. That's what I wanted to end with. Thank you.
I'd like to just add to that, Fazana, because Steve Jobs, the Apple guy, he said the same thing in his deathbed. he said, I have been very, very successful in my life in making so much money. But I find that when I have cancer and when I'm dying now, I was actually misguided in going after money. I should have spent a lot more time with my family and friends, because they are the people who finally are with me at this moment in time. And he was saying, everybody else also should do this. Please remember, not so much your job, not so much your money, not so much your property, your assets, your cars. No, invest in your family, invest in your friends. And that's the only way that can make you happy, healthy, and prosperous.
Thank you, Sylvie, and thank you, Fazana. Very intuitive. Reverend Venerable Tenzit, we'll
Yes,
talk about. Would you tell us about using your mind for healing purposes?
I certainly will, but I just wanted to ask a question, if I may, from Farzana, because she touched on this subject, and I know there's a lot of distress in teenagers within Sri Lanka, and I have sort of noticed that, and obviously in the West, that is also an issue. What role do you think that the communication or lack of communication within families play in this, that the teenagers don't feel understood or listened to? Can you say something about that, please?
Yes, Venerable Tenzin, I think that's one of the key reasons, the breakdown in communication. Um, I mean, over generations, I think when we were young, the communication gap was wider, I would say. We couldn't share everything with our parents at that time, but the pressures we had was less, and life was much simpler, so we didn't have the issues the teenagers have today. We coped with it, though we had a generation gap when we couldn't even I must share this, even sex education in school, right, was not taught very openly. We were told, don't ask questions, and this is the lesson, and you just teach it, and it's done. But with all this, we survived it because our era, we had, as I mentioned before, strong friends, and our families were very close, and they supported us. But from a generation point of view, there still was a gap, but that didn't matter. There were certain topics you couldn't talk with your parents, maybe very intimate topics, but still it didn't matter. We continued, and life went on. But today, I feel teenagers, or even at the age of 10 and 12, children are taught all these topics in school, and then their curiosity rises and they want to know more. And the pressures they have, with the internet, with pornography, with drugs, with so much technology and the access to these things, they are dealing with many more variables than we did in our youth. I mean, Carrie would agree with me. We focused on sports and our fun neighbors and go to school, come back. Now it's a lot of tuition, competition. If you're doing a sport, you have to be the best at it. In everything, you have to be the best. So teenagers need to be able to communicate with their parents. And I think that's one of the main reasons for these issues that teenagers have, because the parents only communicate with them at a very superficial level very often. How are your studies? How is it going? But not probing deep into what they're coping with, what are their issues, what is stressing them at the moment. So yeah, I mean, I think this is one of the biggest gaps, sadly. Yeah, not only in Sri Lanka, like you said, you see it all over.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I will speak a little bit, and I hope, taking that on board, that we as adults, as parents and teachers and aunties and elders in our communities, that we give our time to children. They deserve it. Listening to you all, the stuff that I want to talk on, and you touched on so many important factors in healing. So when we talk about healing, we are assuming that something has become unsound or unhealthy, and we need to restore it. And it can be physically or mentally, of course. And when I looked at, you all referred to more modern authors and researchers and practitioners. But when I think about the role that the mind plays in this and a more of a holistic approach to healing, I can't turn away, I can't ignore our ancient Eastern wisdom traditions, you know. When you think about the healing methodologies, whether it's Chinese or Tibetan or Indian or our own Hela system that one of you mentioned before, it encompasses all of these elements, body and mind. They understood the deep connection between body and mind. And they also understood the relationship between humans and the nature. And their approach was more about maintaining harmony and balance between ourselves and our environment, because they deeply understood the interactions that takes place between that. So their approach was more restorative as opposed to the allopathic approach that we have, more like a conquering, you know, germ warfare and this and that, germs attacking our bodies. So we need to destroy that. And again, you know, Selvi talked a lot about this approach and the benefits also and the pitfalls of it, of course. So in terms of these Ayurvedic systems, they had, they maintained, they gave a lot of responsibility to human beings to maintain the nature. And it went on to describe certain guidelines to maintain our optimal human health, how we need to take care of our external environments, you know. And they had more of an understanding of how the origins of diseases. When you look at many Ayurvedic and yogic systems, and they talked about these mental states leading to depression and anger and other emotional states leading to more serious, you know, getting stuck. They were also quite familiar with energies. So they have the chakra systems of the more subtle body and the subtle mind. So they had a deep understanding of the human body, the human mind, and our environment. And they have very detailed guidelines for us to be able to maintain perfect, optimal health, and how we need to then take care of ourselves and one another. And of course, environment, because they understood that we are made up of elements: water, fire, earth, and air, and space. And our bodies are made of this, and the same elements make up the environment. So when there is an imbalance or disease popping up in our bodies, that shows that there is an imbalance within these elements. And they went about restoring this balance. So it's a very nurturing way of looking after a whole person and restoring and maintaining our world. You know, so this is very relevant today when we are talking about the advances we have made in the world. And then these advances, on the other side, it is that we are actually looking at terrible conditions for human life on Earth. Now we have to seriously look at these imbalances as a result of the certain advantages that we definitely have gotten. But then on the other hand, we have created major imbalances within our bodies and our minds. We have many more mental health issues in the world. We have addictions, endless issues. And you referred to some cancer and other chronic conditions that are increasing. So we can't ignore what we are doing to the environment, because our replenishment, the oxygen we breathe, comes from the world. We can't advocate healthy lives or well-being without actually looking at what contributes to that. So all these traditions understood this, the importance of protecting our minds and having a non-harmful attitude at the very least. You know, you talked about having a value system or higher purpose. And I think they talked about a code of conduct that is going to be beneficial for our health. So it's starting from, if you keep morality, if you lead an ethical life, that is the foundation to develop concentration. When you have concentration, you can actually have introspection. When you know that you can listen to your bodies, when there is an imbalance in the mind or body, you notice. We don't simply just push it under the carpet or deny it, or simply are unable to notice it even. You know, we build up great awareness. So with that awareness, we start doing something about it. This is where the wisdom aspect comes into it. When we have now at this stage, we have understood the interconnectedness, and simply ignoring our environment is going to damage our own health, mental and physical well-being. And it is not a battle, you know, between our health and disease. It is a more or less having an attitude of care and maintenance, and thinking about not the short term, but a long term. And really looking at the world and ourselves and each other with some love and compassion and wisdom. So I think I'm coming to my time that we should, so with that, you know, you have so many takeaway messages from all these beautiful ladies that spoke before. And I really want to tell you, really develop an authentic life, level of authenticity, that you really examine what is important to you, what is important in your life, what do you really care about, and prioritize that. You know, with that, with a change of attitude, we can really affect change in the world. Our minds are very powerful. That's been proven. Whether you look at spiritual traditions or scientific evidence, it's not even contested anymore. You know. So with that, let's do a 1 or 2 minute meditation to just really nurture ourselves and whole world. The healing.
Before we go into that, let me say thank you to Reverend Tenzin. And I'm so glad you brought in the moral, ethical aspect of it, because that is so important for our health too. Right? You can't lead an immoral, unethical life and expect health. You can be sure that these people who have got really chronic illnesses, they are suffering from immoral and unethical thoughts. Those are the prime reasons why the health deteriorates. I'm so glad you made the point, because we were actually focusing on the genes and the brains and forgiveness and family. But this is actually at the bottom of it, because if you see Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, he says it's an 8-fold path. And the first important aspect is yama, which is my relationship with myself. It needs to be moral and ethical. Niyama is my relationship with the universe around me, people, environment, and animals. So unless we get that right, the rest of it cannot happen. So we need to really become aware of the moral, ethical context in which we are living. Thank you so much, Tenzin.
So I also want to say, you know, we can have a healthy mind in a sick body, because, hey, at the end of the day, we can't bypass old age and death. So when we have this great understanding that as humans, we are all fragile, we are all infallible, we can have forgiveness. People who are not, and this sort of this understanding and healing comes at an individual level, and we are in the cycle at any given time. We are all at different places, so we can be more generous for people who don't understand these factors, you know. So with that, we can, for their healing primarily, because if they can have a more expansive, kind, connected, generous, loving heart and mind, that we can heal the world and ourselves more quickly. So we'll do a couple of minutes meditation with that thought, if that's okay. So I invite you to make yourself comfortable wherever you are. And just closing your eyes for 1 minute. And we can generate level of gratitude that we have this wonderful opportunity to come together and learn a little bit more, expand our understanding, learning about these facts that creates harmony and healing and wisdom in the world. And whatever small part that we are able to play in this is a privilege and honor. So we think about all the beings who are suffering from various diseases at the moment through the major imbalances in the environment, people who are dying from COVID and other diseases, and all the suffering people through other illnesses, through the imbalance of the environment, the elements, the water, the fire, earth, and the air. So as we breathe in, we are breathing in all the joy and freshness into ourselves. And we are also breathing out light, loving kindness, and harmony into the world. Just one more time, just breathing in all the thoughts of interconnectedness, truly understanding that we are connected through the air we breathe, the waterways, the earth we'd finally be buried in, and the space we share, and the fire, the heat element within all of us. May all these elements come into balance as soon as possible and heal the world and all that's in it. May there be loving kindness and harmony in the world. May all beings think of benefiting one another. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Venerable Tenzin. Thank you to everybody who joined us this evening. I think we had a very deep conversation, and I'm sure you will walk away from this discussion with lots of thoughts in your head. And we invite you to share with everyone else that you meet so they can follow this particular program on our Facebook Live page. Our next program is on the 14th of April. I think it's going to fall during Sinhala New Year. So look out for the updates on our Facebook page, Wisdom Wednesdays, or on our personal pages, and you will find out what we are going to be talking about then. Thank you again, and thank you from our panel here, these wonderful ladies, my friends, my sisters, who have made me think as well and open my eyes. all of us would like to say to you, thank you for joining us. Continue to join us and continue to change yourselves for the better. Good night. See you next time.
Karen, our next program is on the 8th.
14th of
Not
April.
14th.
What's the date?
Next week is.
No, it's the
31st.
second and fourth. The second and fourth
So
Wednesdays
we have
of the
two
month.
Saturdays, 2 Wednesdays
Correct.
that we're missing.
Correct.
So we
So
might
it's
think
always
of
the
moving
second and
it
fourth.
before, no, in case because of the holidays.
Yes, so we
let's
just
think
look out
about it.
for
Okay.
out for this space on Wisdom Wednesdays page and on our pages. Thank you very much. Good night.